scheduled and prioritized communication. He's proactive with you across many aspects of the relationship. He's willing and able to slow down and go at your pace. He's vulnerable with you. He includes you in his daily life. He's transparent about his life and doesn't give you reason to doubt him, and you feel secure in the relationship with him. 7 ways to tell if a guy loves you in a long-distance relationship. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. I do know a little bit about this topic. Being married to someone who was 18,000 kilometers away from me when I met her, we had to navigate the whole long-distance thing, Brisbane to New York. It's a very long distance. It still feels a long distance, but I'm happy to say we're here in New York now, married together, and I get to visit family regularly, and we've made it all work. So in this video, I'm going to share 7 things from our relationship and from others that I've spoken to, successful clients as well, of what makes a long-distance relationship work and how to know the early signs that things are going in the right direction. So number 1, very important, regular, scheduled, and prioritized communication. This was the bedrock of mine and Sam's success. We had a phone call every single week, a video call that is, I'm sorry. We had a video call date every single week, and it was long. It was usually between 3 and 5 hours, could even be up to 6. That was basically our date night. That was every week. That was scheduled. Maybe we missed 1 or 2 somewhere where someone might have been sick or there was a special priority and we did it on a different night. But that consistent habit was the bedrock of our successful relationship. So if you're doing long distance, and you have to establish this, of course, it's not going to happen from the first date or the first week. But if you are doing long distance, I highly recommend you only select for guys who want to do this scheduled and consistent communication, basically date night with you. Now, a date night is a good practice for any couple, but it is an essential practice for a long distance couple. Long distance attracts a lot of emotionally unavailable people. If you're going to date long distance, you're at a much higher risk of meeting someone who literally wants to keep you at a distance. It's the best way to do it, right? Fall in love with someone who's 10,000 kilometers away. Then you never have to deal with all the problems. You get a lot of that when you're dating long distance. So the first big thing to look for to know if a guy loves you long distance is, okay, is this person willing, wanting, and actioning on doing regular, prioritized, scheduled communication with you? If he is, good stuff. Strong sign he loves you. Okay, proactivity is the second one. Proactivity across many aspects of the relationship. Think gifts. Is he proactively getting you certain gifts or thinking of you in terms of buying gifts or just doing little things for you? Think acts for your, not acts of service, activities to do on your dates, your video dates. Is he coming up proactively with things that you guys can do together? Ways to spend your time, special little compliments that he can give you. And then is he proactive about longer term stuff, planning the future, moving things forward, making a plan for you guys as a couple? Proactivity is important in any relationship, but especially when it comes to long distance. Again, it's a really good way to tell the difference between a guy who is just there for the connection and sort of the distant level of connection that long distance offers versus a guy that actually sees building a together future with you. So look at his proactivity. It shouldn't be you dragging him along to do all of these things. He should be willingly doing them of his own accord. That doesn't mean you can't do some of them for him occasionally, but in general, you want him taking the lead with at least 50% of the time with these things. Really, you want a little more than that. So as I say, look for activities, look for thoughtful gifts, look for ways to spend your time, look for him moving things forward. All of this basically says he's thinking of you in a future way, that he's serious about you and that he is absolutely in love with you and considering you for his long-term future. Number 3, this is a big one as well. He's willing and able to slow down and go at your pace. This is kind of the antidote to the extreme version of the last one, okay? The other issue with long distance with emotionally unavailable people is, believe it or not, they love bomb sometimes, as in someone who's emotionally unavailable can just love bomb the hell out of you. We're going to do this fantasy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm going to come see you, da-da-da. And they get right ahead of themselves. And the reason they're emotionally unavailable is because technically what's happening is they're getting so far ahead in the fantasy that the fantasy of you is a distraction from their own problems and their own emotions relating to those problems. So they use the fantasy to avoid their problems. And then once that fantasy is spun out, usually you go along with them and then they discard you and abandon you and go and love bomb the next woman. Then they can escape their problems with her. So believe it or not, emotionally unavailable people, another symptom of it is that they love bomb you. This is to get away, as I say, from their own stuff. So to counteract to the extreme version of number 2, which, as I said, the guy's being very proactive. Proactive is good, but anything in the extreme can be too much. So how do we avoid love bombers? We want to know that the person can slow down. We want to know that the person can respect your pace. and your boundaries. I've got a client going through this at the moment, and I said, make sure you take at least those 12 weeks, to really give him time and make him slow down, because this guy was really into her. He was talking about the future. He was, getting way ahead of himself. And I said, it's great that he's saying these things, but he's saying them too much, too soon. Slow him down. Tell him you're still going to see other people. Tell him you're going to take your time. Tell him you do this with every man. Whatever you need to do to get it across to him, but really make him slow down and go at your pace. And if he's not willing to do that, it's a big sign that he's love bombing and not actually serious about you. And he so far has been actually able to do that. He's really slowed down. He's like, yep, cool, I'll go at your pace with everything relating to connection, how often we see each other, sex, all that stuff. He's really slowed down, and he's done it over about 6 to 7 weeks so far. So that's starting to look like a long enough time where I'm saying, yeah, okay, he's respecting her boundaries with this. He's even talking about how he worked on it in therapy and stuff that he's worked on with his own coach. So that's pretty cool. So side note, you want someone who can also go at your pace with this. There's these dangers that you can see with long distance. You go too fast, you get the love bombers. You go too slow, you get all these text pals that never want to move anything forward. You got to find that sweet spot in the middle. You are looking for the proactivity. Don't get me wrong. You want that person to be proactive. You want that person who schedules and prioritizes the communication, but you don't want that person who love bombs you. So you want to have at least a few opportunities to actively slow things down and test that the person is going at what you would consider a reasonable pace. And if you're not sure what that is, ask a friend, ask a coach, ask someone, hey, what do you feel would be a reasonable pace for sort of an average long distance relationship to consistently, but on a nice steady pace, move things forward. Okay, number 4, he's vulnerable with you. So you're on the video calls, you're connecting with him, things seem to be going well. Does it all feel superficial, where it's just connecting over fun times and good experiences and all the happy and all the highs? Or does the conversation sometimes come down to more vulnerable places? I'm not talking about over text. Text is not vulnerability. I'm talking about real video-to-video, voice-to-voice communication. Does he share genuine vulnerabilities with you? And does it seem appropriate? There's some people who show up to a first date or a first week of knowing someone new or a one-night stand or something, and they vomit vulnerability all over the person. Okay, they have very poor boundaries with their vulnerability. They show up and the first thing, the first couple of dates, they're at a 9 out of 10 vulnerability already. That is just an example of poor boundaries. That's not someone being vulnerable and connected. That's just, oh, here's a stranger I can spill my vulnerability to, and then I can run away and not have to deal with it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking a good, slow, steady increase in vulnerability as the relationship goes on. So typically what would happen is you might both start at a 2 or a 3 out of 10 and you make sure the other person is safe, and then slowly the vulnerability goes up 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. You should see that progression in vulnerability in a long-term relationship. It should be slow and steady, and you should see it from him. It means you may have to do it as well. Can't just be the guy, but even if you do it to start with, you see him reciprocating it and him being vulnerable with you as well. If you're seeing that, that is great news. It means he's connecting to you. And as long as it's genuine, and use your intuition to really feel that it is, but as long as he's not love bombing and it's really genuine, vulnerability should be difficult. Otherwise it wouldn't be called vulnerability, right? So if it's just easy for him, then it's a facade he's putting on, or it's something he's rehearsed. But if there's genuine, difficult vulnerability coming through in your conversations, especially more so as time progresses, that's good. That's good news. Really good news. Number 5 is that he includes you in his life. So this one's a little bit, there's sort of different subtle examples of this, but maybe he calls you when he's visiting family or friends or just walking out somewhere, and he has them sort of wave to you for 5 minutes, and that's all it is. Or maybe he just sends you a few random photos of a new book he's reading, or the picture of his exercise gym building that he goes to, or his favorite tree outside, or a little work project that he's sketching on his desk, or an art thing he's doing. It could be anything at all, but you feel included in the daily aspects of his life. And he appears to be doing things, again, proactively, to let you see and include you in those various daily aspects. It could be, photos of pets, literally anything that's important to him. You're kind of getting these regular references. Could be a little video, could be a little picture, could be a little text about it. You feel included, despite whatever the distance is, especially as time goes on. And it's not a love bombing situation. Again, needs to be appropriate, everything here in moderation. But as time goes on, there's a really good feeling of inclusion that comes to you where you go, oh, like I almost feel a little bit kind of like I'm there with him. This is what he does on this day. This is something he's passionate about. This is something he's working on right now. This is what his drive to work is like. When you're feeling included in those aspects of his life, Yep, that was definitely something I did for Sam when we were dating long distance. Number 6, he's transparent about his life and doesn't give you reason to doubt him. Okay, I didn't just do long distance. I did long distance when I was working as a stripper. Okay? Put yourself in that situation for a moment. That's not the easiest person to date. You are a long distance relationship with someone that you care about and you are committed to, and that person is out there doing a job on Friday and Saturday nights, almost every Friday and Saturday night, where they're performing and getting naked for a bunch of the opposite sex. It's not the easiest situation to put yourself in. And it was interesting. Sam isn't perfect. She has insecurities. She has a more anxious leaning attachment style, and I'm more avoidant. So especially when you consider that she has an anxious leaning attachment style, how do we get through that? How was that cool? And the reason is, I talked to Sam about this as well. The reason is I never gave her a reason to doubt me. I would text her at the end of the show and just let her know that, hey, show went really well. I'm coming home. And I would basically not hide anything. It didn't mean that I had to be in contact with her the whole show. I wasn't sort of dancing around her insecurities, but I would just say to her, yep, I'm doing this. This is the show I do. I've been doing this for a long time. Ask any questions you like. I'll text you at the end of it. And she dealt with it well. I never gave her a reason to doubt that. I can actually even remember with a previous partner doing something very similar, which is I would go away on shows, interstate or overseas. And I can remember, maybe a couple of times throughout the night, let's say we come home and the show had finished, which is, sometimes when some of the guys would bring a lady home from the show, I can remember just kind of sending her a selfie. Maybe one here. And then I actually remember one time when we did it and we had a whole weekend away. It was kind of a big show and it was a big night. So I can remember sending her a selfie kind of when we got home and then a selfie a couple of hours later. And I didn't explicitly say, obviously, I'm not with someone, but I just wanted to show that, hey, I'm thinking of you. Here we are at the show. I wasn't giving her a reason to doubt me. And I remember later on her saying, I don't know if you did this on purpose. This is once we were much further into a relationship. She said, I remember you did that early on in our relationship. And she said, I don't know if you necessarily did this on purpose, but I remember when you were sending me those selfies that night, the impression I got was that you were communicating, hey, I don't want to give you, as in the woman in question, a reason for me to doubt you. And she was right. Unconsciously, I didn't kind of realize I was doing that, but that's basically what I was doing. So look out for a guy, if you're long distance, look out for a guy who is transparent about his life and you just don't feel that there's a reason to doubt him. There's nothing coming through from you in his behavior that's making you feel, oh, there's something sketchy here. There's a reason to doubt. Your questions are answered clearly. There's no weirdness, there's no hesitation, there's no odd pauses that don't really make sense to you. Really listen to your gut on this one. And it actually brings and segues us nicely into number 7, which is you feel secure in the relationship. A natural flow from he's transparent about his life and he doesn't give you reason to doubt him, so you feel secure in the relationship. This one is really a feeling. I work with clients all the time. Sometimes they have insecurities. Sometimes there's intuition that's actually picking up on something. And you do have to differentiate between the two. But have a think about what a secure relationship feels like for you. Maybe you've been in one. Hopefully you've been in one at least for a short period of time. Maybe you haven't and you have to imagine it. And then think about what a non-secure, what an insecure relationship feels like for you. And sometimes the insecure ones are more exciting. So you have to be honest about that part of it. Okay, I'm with someone who's really exciting right now. And I remember this. So I did a whole video about this years ago. This woman, she was so exciting. Couldn't stop thinking about her. Was absolutely obsessed with her. And after a couple of months, I realized how anxious this connection was making me. And I can still think about it now and kind of embody the feeling. I was high, obsessive, kind of very, very focused on her, all the dopamine triggers, and feeling doubtful and uncertain and like I was on this roller coaster all the time. That's the classic presentation of insecure, right? Didn't mean I wasn't feeling very interested, but that's what insecure feels like. Versus with Sam, it was more, if this was a busy, crazy kitchen, this was more of a calm library, okay? Feel safe, feel certain, don't have a reason to doubt her, just feel solid, like there's nothing wrong here, okay? Yes, I'm not constantly doubting. I don't have the excitement or unknownness of constantly doubting if the person is into me, but I also have the peace and certainty and security of not constantly doubting if the person is into me. So that's the feeling you're looking for. And what I'd recommend you do is Familiarize yourself with what that feels like in your body. If you've never felt it before, then try to wrap your head around, okay, this is what it would feel like. Maybe have a friend describe a secure situation like that to you, and that helps you imagine, all right, this is what it would feel like if I was in a really secure, healthy relationship. And then compare, is that what this feels like? If a guy is being honest and transparent about his life and not giving me a reason to doubt him, how does that make me feel? I just get this sense of this calm comfort. And then check your current relationship. Does your current long-distance relationship give you a sense of calm comfort, or does it give you a sense of anxiety and unknown and like, I don't really know what's going on here? Because that second feeling, that's not what you want. And long distance relationships are hard. Long distance is even harder in almost every conceivable way. The only advantage I can think of long distance is it forces a few of the more difficult conversations earlier in the relationship. But otherwise, just about everything about long distance is harder. So don't make it even harder for yourself by being with someone who isn't making you feel secure in the relationship. Again, familiarize yourself with the feeling if you need to. Go back to point number 6. Oh, he's transparent, doesn't give me reason to doubt him. What does that feel like? Oh, that's a particular feeling of security. All right. If your relationship isn't matching that, either work on it until it is matching that, let's say through regular date nights and through good communication and all the things we talked about in this video. Either work on it until it is, or let it go. Because with long distance especially, you can burn so much time on the wrong person. You can burn years on the wrong person barely knowing them. At least if you're dating someone who's next to you, living near you, you're stuck around them and you figure out their flaws kind of quickly a lot of the time. Long distance, you don't have that luxury. You've got to figure out their flaws when they're not even around for you to figure them out. So put pressure on the situation, have these positive relationship habits, and if the person can't stick to them and can't work with you on them so that you're feeling secure in the relationship, then it's an easy one to let go of, so you save a lot of your time. That's the video. Have you experienced these in a long-distance relationship? Have you experienced success or failure in a long-distance relationship? Let me know in the comments space below. Hit the subscribe button with the little bell. Give the video a thumbs up. And don't forget, if you want to book a call for help with your long-distance relationship or help with your short-distance relationship or help getting an ex back or getting a guy, I've got my no man, no fee guarantee. Whatever it is you might want help with, hit the link below. My team will have a chat to you about coaching and explain how it all works to meet with me. Thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video very soon.